Hello everyone, welcome to the channel and I hope everyone is doing good. So in today's video, we are going to look into the MCP server and the practical aspects. We'll try to set up MCP client, MCP server. We'll try to link it to the Wikipedia resource and we'll try to see how things work in MCP. So the general architecture will be a user will be firing queries in a natural language to the MCP client. The MCP client will connect to the MCP server, get the output result from the wiki, and then we'll format the output. There will be multiple aspects. We'll try to see how to do the setup of MCP server and MCP client. We'll try to see how we can add resources to the MCP server. We'll also see that how we can set up the MCP prompt. So everything around the MCP will be seen in this video. So please be till the end of the video and do subscribe to my channel and please spread this video and this channel to all your friends and colleagues who want to be a data engineer or who are already a data engineer and want to move to a Gen AI technology. So we'll be doing the setup on the VS Code. So I already have the setup. So first of all, you need to install few things in the Python package. We'll start like as we proceed in the video, we'll look into what all packages is required. So initially, like we are trying to connect to the Wikipedia pages, so we'll need the Wikipedia API. So there's a Python package called Wikipedia, which is a kind of a wrapper on the top of Wikipedia API, and you can get all the content of the Wikipedia section and what are the different sections and what are the details into it. We can get through this wrapper. Then we have to install one SDK for MCP, which will be used for setting up the MCP server and MCP client. So we have to do this pip install Wikipedia and MCP. Now I'll go to the VS Code. So now already I have the MCP client here, MCP server, and we'll see that how it works and how you can set up in your system. So first of all, like Wikipedia and MCP server, you need to install it with the pip. And then we have these many libraries. I'll tell you one by one what to do. So first we'll start doing the setup of the MCP server. MCP server is a bit more straightforward as compared to MCP client while doing the setup. MCP server will just need the definition of the tools and nothing more apart from that. But MCP client needs to set up the agentic AI environment. Like in our example, we are going to look into with the help of LangGraph. You can set up the MCP client in any one of the ID, but we are going to look into the process of LangGraph setup. Why I'm choosing the LangGraph for this tutorial is because in my previous videos, I'll put the link in this video. I have already created a tutorial for the complete LangGraph. We have done multiple practicals along the LangGraph, and that will be useful to implement in this video or in this section. So first of all, we imported Wikipedia. Then we have installed MCP libraries from the Python, and from that we can import the fast API. It's an interface. It's an interface which will expose your tools. When you create the tools into MCP, that will get exposed through this fast MCP. Okay. After adding this to import, we have to create a session. We have to create a session for this MCP on this interface, and that name I have given is Wikipedia search. So this session will create a session for the user. For example, when user is interacting with the MCP client, and then obviously it will go to the MCP server. That session need to be created. We need to be maintained and created. So that is done with this. Okay. Now here I have written few examples of that, few tools examples. Like we have used this decorator. Actually, what this decorator does. This is a tool decorator, and it tells MCP this is a tool. This is just like a function, but it's not a function, it's a tool. Consider this as an independent entity, and this can be invoked from anywhere. So you can see one tool I have created here, another tool I have here, the other tool I have here. Okay, this three tool I have created. Okay, now what does each tool does? Okay, by the definition we know that MCP has a tools, and we with the help of LLM invoke the tool. Okay, so first of all is fetch Wikipedia info. Okay, so this Wikipedia for the topic returns the title, summary, and the URL of the best match. So the user will fire the query. That query will use the Wikipedia wrapper, and in inbuilt there is a Wiki API. When you go into the Wikipedia API, there is a search with the help called page. It's an internal function there. And in that page, we are passing the best match and we are getting the result, like what is the title, what is the summary, and what is the URL. So this is the output of it. And these are all the exception handling things. Okay. The normal, the Python things, how we write when we are doing the exception handling. So one tool is for getting the Wikipedia info. The other tool is just for getting the Wikipedia section. So like you don't want everything of this Wikipedia, you just want you have given your topic and you want the Wikipedia section. So with the help of this tool you can get the Wikipedia section. Okay, and then you have each section content. For a particular section you want a content of it, so that can be given to that can be written from this tool. So you can see this in this list Wikipedia section and uh, fetch query. You are just giving that query to the fetch query. In Wikipedia section you have to give the topic name, and in the content you have to give the topic name and the section title, and then it will give the result out of it. Fine. So three tools we have created on the top of MCP. So you can create like my resource is now the Wikipedia. You can have the resource like if you have any database installed in the system, you can have uh, get get content, or first tool you can have update content, which will update the tables. Fine. So this is my MCP server. Okay. And then we have to create MCP client. One more thing I want to add, like for the section, this one, for using this, somewhere you would be calling the section here. Here you can see dot section. For this, you need to import one libraries. You can check in the Python package. It's pip install wiki.section. So that will like if you're getting an error when you're writing this program, if you're getting an error at this point, you can look into it. And then you can also use the GitHub Copilot here, and this will be like if you get any error. So when I was writing it by looking into multiple resources, I was getting multiple errors. So with the help of GitHub Copilot, I tried to resolve most of the error. So in the next video, I'll come up with the almost all kind of, or it will cover almost all kind of capabilities of the GitHub Copilot in this VS Code. Okay, so now my MCP server is ready. I will paste this code in my description. You can take it from the description. Now we'll go on creating the MCP client. Okay. So if you want to run this MCP server, you can directly run it. I'll show you. So starting MCP Wikipedia server. So this means that your server is started. Okay, but we are doing the client setup in such a way that you don't need to every time start the server. Whenever the client is invoked, the server will be automatically be invoked in that process. Okay. Now we'll go on the MCP client. So as I mentioned, we'll look into these all things. But before that, as I mentioned that we don't have to individually invoke MCP server. So whenever the client is invoked, the MCP server will automatically get invoked. Okay. So how we are doing this? We are writing it here. You can see command is this till Python, and the argument we are passing is MCP server. So starting of the main function, this will get invoked. So your MCP server will launch from here. Now, one more thing I want to show in MCP server. When you go to MCP server, so I have written here the transport or the protocol is standard input output. I'm calling like my MCP server in my local system. So I'm going to invoke MCP server through standard input output in the local system. You can also call MCP server with the help of HTTP. So in your generally in your project or in the project environment, you will not have generally standard input output. You will have HTTP transport as an HTTP transport. Okay. Now I'll go to the client. there are few libraries we have to import. I'll mention it now. So what we are going to do, we are going to install these packages like MCP we have already done. We'll be using LangGraph. We'll create a agent, and that agent will get your input, get the user input, and that agent will be connected to LLM and then to the MCP server. So we are using LangGraph. We are using the OpenAI, which will provide you the OpenAI key, the chat prompt, everything. So we are going to install LangChain and LangChain OpenAI and LangChain MCP adapter. Okay. For the MCP, we need adapter. If you're not using LangChain, if you're using some other framework, you will have that framework MCP adapter already built. So MCP, we know that LangGraph. If you don't know what is LangGraph, how to work on the LangGraph, like in this video, I'm not going into the detail of the LangGraph. You can look into my previous video. I'll put the link here. I have around couple of videos on LangGraph or more than that, and that will give you a fair idea how the LangGraph works. And there are few, few not multiple practical examples of the LangGraph. Okay. Now we'll move to the VS Code. Okay. After installing that, you need to import something like for the client session, MCP client session. For each client, there will be a session being served. So we create MCP server, MCP client session. Then we have standard output server parameter. So this is used for calling this server program. Okay. And these are the parameters specific to LangGraph. If you look into the LangGraph, we have different nodes in the LangGraph. Start and end are the two node. We have a state graph. Why we between the graph we need to maintain the state of the graph? Why? So that a single message, if I fire a single message to this LangGraph agent, then that message should be connected to me. Like if there are multiple iteration on that message, multiple output, and then again I'm giving multiple input, so that need to be put in a session, put in a state. So between this graph we need to have a single state, and for that we have a state graph. Okay. We are using type dict for the from the Python, and then we have LangChain OpenAI. We are using chat API. This will be used for getting the API key. So this is my API key. Don't worry, like once this video is out live, so I'll be disabling this API key. This will be of no use. So no need of looking into it in detail. So this is the API key. This can be used with get the input from the chat open API. So how to create an OpenAI key? You can go to the OpenAI website. You have to pay a few amount, and then you can create an OpenAI key. If you have any doubt in creating the OpenAPI Open AI key and how to use it, I will let you know, and how to use it effectively so that you don't burn a lot of money. So that also I can help you in that. You can put that in the comment video comment. Then we have chat prompt template. So this will be used in the chat prompt. And the other important thing is message placeholder. Like if you're asking multiple messages, so there should be something which manages the message, like history of the messages. So for that we are using the message placeholder. Okay, and then there is a adapters. So the first thing is to invoke the server. So every time you don't want to invoke the server through the MCP client, you can directly invoke the server. Okay, LangGraph starts from here to here when we are creating a graph, not this one. Okay, so what we are doing, first thing, we are going to load all the MCP tool. So what it means, like in MCP server, you have all the tools. We have 1, 2, and 3 tools. Fine. So that will be listed here with the help of this. Okay. Then we are creating this temperature, the model. You can change the model and then the API key, and then we are binding this with the tool which is available. So here we'll have the list of all tools. So this will be passed here. So now MCP client understand that what all tools are available in the MCP server. Right. Now we are starting the chat node. Okay, the chat node, this is from the LangGraph. So it gets the message from the user, and we are adding a different node. So first is chat node. So first it start with the start node. So the first node is start node, then we have a chat node, then we will have a multiple tool node, and then we have the start node is, see, you see here, add edge start is connected to the chat node. So first is start node, after the chat node, and then there is a tool node, and there is a conditional edges between chat node. So chat node, there is a conditional edges, and that condition is connected to the tool node. What is the condition? Condition is the tool. Like I'll explain you how it is. So there is a start node, there is a chat node, and then there is a tool node, and there is a end node. Okay, so we can call it a start node, and then this is chat. First node is a chat node, then there is a condition, or you can call it a tool node. Tools is it in a condition, and then there is a end node. Fine, and all these things are connected. Okay, fine. So if you create the sorry, okay. So this is, let me delete this one. Okay, so if you create the or run this command in the interactive mode of Jupyter Notebook, you will be able to see that same graph. Okay, and that you can see in my previous video also. Now, once this graph is created, okay, so what we are going to do? Okay, chat session has started. Okay, and from there we'll call this create graph. Now you see these are getting the input. Your MCP server is ready. You can edit as per your way. You don't need to, and everything like what are the configuration, what are the exception handling, everything is written here. And see, run the main program, and it will start. First, it will start to start the MCP server. It will create all this graph. Okay, fine. You can see there will be something for this message. Let me message placeholder. See, this is the message placeholder where all your messages are getting stored. Okay, and so now our server is ready. Our MCP client is MCP client is ready, and then MCP server is ready. Now, one thing I want to mention here: once your MCP server is ready, it's not necessary that you have to create the MCP client with any framework. You can use, you can create the MCP client through VS Code without writing all this thing. With the cloud also you can do it. I think in some of the video I'll show you like how to create MCP client in a normal program way. You don't need to write everything. But as I have already discussed lang graph, so I thought of doing it in this way. Fine. Now we'll start the MCP client and we'll see that how it works. I will run the MCP client. Okay. First, it has restarted. MCP agent is ready. Processing request to type list tool request. Okay. So list tool is used in MCP client. Your MCP server is also ready. So it's asking for your input. Okay. Tell me about India history related to. Okay, I'll keep it simple now. Now you will see what all things it does. Processing request to type call to request. See, this input is given to the LLM, okay, and that LLM decides that which tool it has to call. So there are three tools. So I'm sorry, but I could not find a specific PDF page in the history of India. However, I can provide information on specific aspects like Indian history. Okay, so I'll tell in this way. Tell me about Indian history. Okay, let's see what it gets. Specifically, a page history of India, Wikipedia page for history of India. However, I can provide maybe to Indian history available information and the ancient history of India, like Mughal Empire. Okay, I'll write it. it is getting the content. Okay. Now it's getting everything from this link. Okay. This is the link and this is the description. Fine. So this way it is looking into the tools, and LLM decides which tool it has to call, and it is getting the output. Now you'd be thinking like this is a normal function. This tool is a normal function. It looks like a normal function, but you understand one thing. This server is independent entity. You can copy this server, put it into any of the places, and multiple client can connect to the same server. So this server is an independent entity. It's not uh, bind to any of the application or program. And this, with the help of this decorator, we are telling MCP like these are the independent tools. So now we'll understand MCP prompt. Okay, and after this we'll see into we'll look into MCP resource. So what is MCP prompt? So this is MCP server, this is MCP client, and this is user. User has fired the query to MCP client. That LLM has looked into this MCP client, and then that particular queries is passed to the MCP prompt, and that MCP prompt give the refined prompt to the MCP client. So now you have asked something to the MCP client, and that LLM has created the prompt. To refine that prompt, you can define few structure of the prompt, predefined structure for the in the prompt in the MCP server itself. See, in the MCP server, your tool gets executed, but MCP prompt is not getting executed here. It's just predefined template of the MCP prompt. And then your prompt is refined and it is passed to the MCP client. And this MCP client passes the refined prompt to the MCP server, not MCP server, we'll call it MCP tool. Why? Because this whole is the MCP server. Right now we'll see this in the code. We have refined the MCP client to include the prompt features, and we have refined the MCP server to include the prompt feature. We'll look it into now. So in the MCP server, we have added one more decorator, which is like MCP prompt, like how we have MCP tool. So there is different definition for MCP prompt, where we are creating this highlight section prompt, where it will add these all things to your inbuilt, like what prompt or what user you have given, and the LLM has created a prompt out of it. Few things will be added to this. These are the predefined prompt. Okay, you can have multiple prompt like highlight section prompt. There can be any other prompt also, and depending on the, you can list the prompt, and depending on which prompt you want, you can use it. Okay, so one of the prompt template I have copied it and I've just used it now. And the same, now you have to declare, or you have to understand that from the client program also. Okay, so this is the server program. Now we'll move to the MCP client. So in the MCP client, we have done a few changes. So we have added the function to get the list of the prompt. Okay, it will list you all the prompt, and it will also say you how to use it. Slash prompt, this is defined way how you have to use the prompt. You have to give the prompt name. In our case, our prompt name is highlight section prompt. This will be used here, and then argument like what you want to do with the wiki pages. Then how to handle it. So we have another function for handling this prompt is, okay, so we are getting the prompt. We have to first parse our input. Okay, so for that we have used this library for parsing the user input, putting it into the particular prompt. We have parsing it so that we can put it in a proper format in the prompt. And then we are using the human message way, so that the actual defined prompt is created in a more human fashion, human language, and that has been put it here. All this logic is for creating the prompt. Okay, so when you will execute it, you will get to know that there are multiple ways. It will give you the options, and then with the help of the slash prompt, you can use the available prompt and put the give our input. Okay, we'll run it now. So first we'll cancel this. So now this is MCP server, MCP client. So it will automatically invoke the MCP server also. So you can see Wikipedia MCP agent is running, is ready. So let me put it here. Okay. Now you can see type a question or use the following template /prompt directly to list the available prompt. Okay. So I will first list all the available prompts. So only one prompt we have created, which is highlight section prompt. So I will write it here prompt and highlight sections underscore, and then we'll give some content. Let me think of like for example um, something like flood error incorrect API key. Okay, my API key has been okay. Let me check this API key. There's some issue with my API key. Maybe it have been it's not the correct API key. Let me see it. Okay, I have added the updated API key, and then I'll again check this prompt. Okay, now let me see. So prompt, and what is the name of the prompt? Highlight underscore sections underscore prompt, and then I can give what was that? Flood I have written. Okay, tool request. First you get prompt request, then call tool request. It is calling the tool, the which tool to call. That API is relevant, but it seems there is a technical issue preventing you retrieving the section titles from your section on Flood. I recommend visiting the article directly. So I have again rerun the MCP client, and this time it's working. So one changes I have done, I have passed this argument with the double quote. So that was missed from there. Experiencing technical difficulties, again saying that in the section title it is not able to fetch, but it is getting few sections, not all the sections, like history, geography, culture. So I have passed this what do you call it, let's just give you the prompt India. So I'll try once more with another prompt. I'll pass it here. Mm, something called virus. Let's see what output it gets. Okay, you can see it's again able to get the section. Okay, so the issue was that double quotation, I was not giving the argument. Fine. So this was about the prompt. You can have multiple prompts, like you see I have created only one prompt. It can have multiple prompts, and depending on that it will give the output. And you can also, you have to list that prompt in the MCP client. Now we'll see, look into the resources. Okay, what is MCP resources? And when, if you have gone through my previous video of MCP, then you will be able to relate, like I have already discussed what is MCP prompt, MCP resources, and how it is being used. Now you are seeing it practically, and then after this, again, if you go to my previous video, you will be able to relate the things, and this will be very useful in your interview and in your project purpose. Okay, now we'll go to the MCP resource. So what is MCP resources? So what is MCP resources? So MCP resources is like just, it's an external document. Like if I have given you, if I have added resources, so your MCP server will get the detail from the from these resources. For example, you have MCP server for your in your banking client. So that client can keep some policy resources, some of the useful list of items in the resources text file, where you will add few items which need to be taken into it in a more detailed way. So MCP server will obviously use the tool to get the output, and it will also look into the resources, like if it has to provide some extra things on the top of the tools. So that is MCP resources. It doesn't get executed like MCP tool. It's just an external source of information which we are giving to the MCP server. We'll see in the code now. So for the adding resource, so for adding the resources in the MCP server, we have to add this decorator resource. We have given the path of the file. Like I've created this file, suggested titles. These are a few of the titles. It need to look into it in more details, and that has been added. You can have any kind of resources. You can put it here. This is just for an example. And MCP resources they've added here. It will just parse it, suggest you the title, nothing else. Okay, it will suggest you like these are the important titles you can search for. But you can have anything in this as a resources. Now when you have added this into it, now we have to go to the MCP client, and then we have to list it, like how we have listed the prompt, we have listed the tools. Now we have to list the resources also. Okay, I have added it here. Okay, I have added the one of this. How to handle the resources. Again, we are splitting it, doing all that things like getting the resources one by one. We are reading it and just getting the output of the resources. What are the resources? And it will print all what are the resources are there. And then we are adding this thing into our main loop to handle this. Fine. So you can see that specific resources you want to run for a specific resources. You can also look for the resources. We'll try to run this, okay, and then it will be more clear. Mm, First of all, make it here. Okay, there's some issue in this program. Let me look into it. So the issue has been resolved. The issue was regarding this resources. What the path we have given was wrong here. Okay. So now with the help of file, this is the format how you have to give the path. Now if I run this, okay. Now apart from this prompt, it is also saying that you can list. I'll do one thing. I'll just clear the screen, and then it will be better. Okay. Now let me run the resources. So it has given you the list of resources. So I've created only one resource file. So it has given you the first resource. If I want to see what are the resource in this, I can just type. Let's see. Uh, Suggested underscore titles. So these are the titles in this resource, and then you can run it with the help of the prompt. So now you know these are the resources. So similarly, you can have multiple resource file and multiple things. These are just for the demo purpose. Actually, you will have that policy and everything into it depending on your business. So now in this video, we have looked into how to create a basic agent flow with the help of LangGraph. Basically, we're not looked into more of the LangGraph. We have looked into MCP creation of MCP client, MCP server. Then we looked into MCP prompt and MCP resources. All these four things we have looked into it. I'll just, if you need, I'll just send you the code. Any doubt, please post it in the comment. And the next video will most probably come in with the GitHub tutorial of the GitHub Copilot. In case of any doubt, please put it in the comment. I'll just come up with the answer. And try this in your machine. You'll initially will face multiple issues in libraries and everything. And try to use GitHub to resolve the issues. Will be very helpful. In my case, it was very helpful. And then we'll meet in the next video. Till then, goodbye and happy learning.